Holy Thursday cuts a little too close to home for our liking this year. We are facing a night that threatens all of us. It may feel much like the threat that hung over Jesus on Holy Thursday so many years ago. The pandemic striking us is a tragedy that makes life feel so fragile. But no crisis could ever come that doesn't also carry a gift for us in its hands. And this Holy Thursday that we are experiencing right now, with all of its pain and all of its worry and all of its longing, is the very best gift our faith could ever receive. This crisis is carrying a gift for our faith in its hands. This is what Holy Thursday feels like. This is what it authentically feels like. We are literally at the Last Supper tonight, as if for the very first time. Because Holy Thursday is about openness. It's about hearts broken open. It's about having an awareness of what really matters. Recently, I was planning a wedding with a bride and a groom that were very close with their family. Both of them were very connected to all the generations of their extended family. And they planned an October wedding, which made the bride so happy because in the Catholic tradition, October is the month of the Rosary. And this bride was very close with her grandmother, who had taught her to pray the Rosary. And it was a prayer that the two of them shared and bonded over. In the spring, as they were getting ready for their marriage, that grandmother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And the doctor gave her 6 months to live. The first question on everybody's mind was, will Grandma be here for the wedding? At the wedding that day, Grandma came in, beautiful and weak, in a wheelchair, wearing a corsage, beaming proudly. The moment that the bride went over to her grandmother and gave her the sign of peace, that's the feeling of Holy Thursday. Giving your dying grandmother the sign of peace at your wedding when the doctors thought she might not be there. But when the wheelchair reminds you that she won't be here long, that's Holy Thursday. The exquisite joy and the exquisite sorrow. And that is what we are experiencing here tonight. 6 weeks ago, Father Rick Shaw stood in the spot that I'm standing in right now. I was out of town at a conference that week, and I was thrilled that Father Shaw said yes when I asked him to fill in that weekend, because he's a hero around these parts. He has done jail ministry in our community for decades, and many people would agree he is one of, if not the best, preacher in our diocese. His homilies are dynamite. He and Deacon Steve, here from St. Patrick's, work together every week, and they are very close. If you want to see footage of Father Shaw presiding at St. Patrick's, you can go to our YouTube channel, the very channel you're watching this on probably right now. If you just go back to the Mass from February 23rd, there he is, wearing the vestments that I usually wear. He was wearing an oxygen tank that day, because that's the only way he can celebrate Mass now, because he's got a lot of health problems. Right now, he is in the ICU fighting for his life. We had thought that he had COVID-19, but later reports are telling us that perhaps the doctors think not. It might be that he just has a case of pneumonia, but the danger is still real. And he is doing better today than he was the days before. But what we've been through this week with him, the thoughts we've had of losing him, have put a gash in our hearts. The U.S. Surgeon General this week told us that the next 2 weeks in America will be another Pearl Harbor. His exact quote is, "This is likely to be the hardest and saddest weeks in most Americans' lives." What can we possibly do to prepare for the hardest and saddest time in many of our lives? You almost wish you didn't know. Pearl Harbor came without warning. We couldn't have anticipated Pearl Harbor. But imagine what it would have felt like if we knew on September 10th, 2001, this is the last day that things will be the way they are. Tomorrow they will all change forever. And yet, that anticipation that we feel, that's the feeling of Holy Thursday. Because we know that Jesus had told his followers, I'm going to be betrayed. I'm going to be tortured. I'm going to be killed. And they said, don't talk like that. Come on. No, you're not. Don't say it. It can't be true. That's what we say to our loved ones when they say things like, you know, honey, I don't think I'm going to be here much longer. Don't talk like that, Mom. Don't say that, Grandpa. Don't say that. It's the same feeling that families have when their 18-year-old is about to go to college. And it's the very last night at home in August before the car is all packed the next day for college. Are you going to spend the whole dinner that night talking about how things will never be the same? Most families can't handle that, so they just kind of talk about the logistics. Well, how are you going to fit everybody in the station wagon? How are we going to do this? All right, now maybe if Dad follows behind with the minivan, we can figure this out. It's the feeling that a caregiver has when the hospice nurse looks up from the bedside and says, we're in the final stretch now. If you have any family that you want to call to have come and say goodbye, this is the right time. And it's the feeling that we have when the Surgeon General tells us to get ready for the hardest and saddest time many of us have ever felt. It's the reason why we call tonight the Last Supper. That's Holy Thursday. And that's why this Holy Thursday is the most real, the most authentic, the biggest gift our faith could ever have, because we're having it. We're having Holy Thursday, the real thing. And this tonight is the opportunity that we have to say to Jesus what we want to say to him. We've never had this opportunity before. We've had others, but never this one. Life has never seemed so fragile. And he has never seemed more precious. We are so lucky to have this night with him, this Last Supper night. And we are blessed that our misfortunes have allowed us to know that we can't waste it. There is a term for what we're all feeling right now. There's a term for the dread that is in a lot of people's hearts. Counselors call it anticipatory grief. It's the feeling you have when you know that soon you're going to have a gash in your heart. And so you're trying to figure out how you can angle yourself so that the knife can be inserted somewhere where you might survive it. The gash is coming. How can I survive the gash? Should I take it in the back? Should I take it in the chest? Should I angle myself? For the third day in a row, New York State has set a new record in the number of deaths in our state. 799. We're so glad that Father Rick Shaw did not make that number 800. We were told today that New York State's situation alone, ignoring the other 49 states, just New York alone, is pretty much on par with how bad China was. And so tonight we're praying for Father Rick Shaw. And we're praying for the others we love. Other parishioners are affected by this very intimately. We are praying like mad for our elders and for everyone we know with asthma. And we're scared because the losses that we're facing are scary and they're hard. But that then is the gift carried in by this crisis. The gift that our faith has received to trust in God alone. Alone. God is enough. Tomorrow is Good Friday, and in past years, it might have come and gone without us even noticing. Maybe you've had a Good Friday where you forgot it was happening until the day was almost over. Maybe you went to work as usual, and there were no signs of anything being different. Some Good Fridays are different than that, though. This is going to be one of those. In 1997, on Good Friday, one of my dearest friends, Monet, got a call. It was a call telling her that her dad had died suddenly and that she needed to go pick up her sister at a nearby college and come home to their mother. Never again will Good Friday be a day that she'll forget to observe. The pain of the loss of Jesus on the cross and the pain of the loss of her dad are woven together. And the pain of this being Jesus' Last Supper and the worry that this could be some of our last suppers, that's woven together. Our faith and our life tonight have become one thing. We can't tell where one stops and the other starts. Our faith and our life are the same. Once we get to the other side of this crisis, which will inevitably come, once this Holy Thursday is a memory and not an experience that we have to endure, we may realize what it means for our faith and our life to have become one. Perhaps never again will we want to live any other